everybody. Today I'm going to go over your dating and relationships, the first two sections on the theory of mate selection and the SVR mate filtering. So that's your job for today. So if you hop on your assignment, we'll be filling out this first table, answering some questions on here that's kind of reflecting on that, and then we'll be looking at the SVR filtering, and then working on that piece. So it's pretty quick today. If you have time, feel free, work on the must-have, can't stands, but we'll go over that a little later in the love languages. Okay, so first up, you're going to click on the notes for the theories of mate selection, and we'll just kind of look through. It's talking about how when we're picking someone to date, their choices are limited, and each person has certain resources, and so a lot of times people are going to be looking for different resources or different things that they are looking for in someone. And usually this first stuff is more the superficial stuff, right? That's kind of like the filter that we use to filter people out. So it might be social class, status, looks, personality, education, any kind of things that you usually would know quickly when looking at somebody. So we size ourselves up and we rank others. So do we think they're a good deal, average package, something not so great? And we do this same with potential dates, and then we kind of trade or exchange our good and bad traits. So how does that work? Okay. We tend to choose people with equal qualities in terms of looks, intelligence, and economics. Matching though doesn't happen with every trait. And sorry about the noise, they're moving stuff around. Traditional exchange, which isn't quite as common anymore, but looking at the differences and how traditionally at least used to be. However, women are more economically independent and career-oriented, so this changes things a lot of times. Looking at the filtering theory, of mate selection. Going back, the process of identifying those we interact with as either being in or out of our pool of people we would consider to date. We have Mercian's filter theory, so we have like the whole filter of eligible people, so within like who is eligible to date, like the proper age range or whatever it is. Okay, the proximity filter, attraction filter, homogamy, compatibility trial, decision filter, and then if you notice on the bottom, it shows marriage, but some people choose not to get married too, so that's always like just committed long-term relationship is fine too. Okay, so now we're going to look at what each of these mean, and this is when you will start putting in your information when we look at these. Proclivity is on the middle one, so it doesn't go quite in order. Sorry about that. So proclivity is a geographical closeness experienced by potential dates and mates. So they have to be near in time and place. So like we're in Minnesota, we're not probably most likely date people in Texas. Okay? Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but that's one way that we filter people out. Okay, so that would be what you'd write and what it is, and then my example. So you're dating someone nearer to you. Okay. And then homogamy is a tendency for dates, mates, and spouses to pair up with someone of similar attraction, background, interests, and needs. Okay, so it's just how similar might you be. Okay, so like you put that as a definition. Example, you could have so many different examples. You could have someone who could go by based on interest. You know, if someone really is into soccer, maybe you are attracted to someone else that is interested in that too. For the homogamy on there. Okay. We have heterogamy as compatibility is dating or pairing individuals with differences in traits. So often they can be complementary. So filling, this is the complementary needs one. So filling that in there. So you could have an example of someone that's very good at communicating their likes and dislikes, and you can have another person that maybe is really good at listening and responding to things. That could be an example. Okay, a little bit complementary. That one, it'd be better to have both of them be doing that, but often maybe one person's good at finances and paying the bills, and another person is really good at cooking. Okay, so they can kind of balance out with those things. Next is the ideal mate. Is every person has an image of what their ideal mate based on appearance, character, or other traits. Some people have a clear image of their ideal mate. So, example, woman who thinks the perfect person for her will have blonde hair and likes to read and can even imagine the way she'd like him to talk. Others, however, think they realize what they want when they find it. Okay, so some people have an ideal mate, others don't. Okay, so I'm just getting the definition in there, and then an example. You could put that. You'll look at what yours is later on. That can look very different for different people. Okay. Next up, we have social exchange theory. This is when people ask themselves what they want in a mate in terms of material resources, personal qualities, skills, and then what can they offer in return. So it's saying, okay, these are like, and we'll kind of talk about them when we get to the deal breakers, but what are like my really big deal breakers that I'm willing to exchange for my qualities? Okay, so you could have someone that maybe a social exchange is having someone that's really, really loyal. Maybe you're willing to have somebody that's really loyal, but maybe it's just funny, right? It could be an example. Okay. And then that's that, all those pieces. And then it says right below what your ideal mate would be like. This include anything, like looks, personality, interests, skills and abilities, education, family values, way more. Okay, so this should be fairly detailed. If you don't know, think about it for a little while. Okay, and then the social exchange, this is like below here on this side, put what are you actually looking for in a mate, which is going to be similar to your ideal mate, but narrow it down, like what are your big things? And then what do you have to offer? Do you offer those same things? Do you offer different things? What is it? And number 3, what's one thing you'd be willing to give up to get something else from your list? So looking at that exchange piece. So that's, you can look at that on there too. Okay, so that's your theories of mate selection. So there's all those different theories, all those different ways that you can look for a dating partner. And then we also have SVR mate filtering. So we're going to look at like how do we normally and then can exchange differently to do traditional dating versus online dating. And this depends on how we choose to date people. So trends, most people tend to date a wider range of individuals that they would do a long-term relationship and then do engaged with or live with or eventually marry. So it kind of narrows each pool, like as far as you get. So first is the S stage, is the stimulus stage. Interaction depends on physical attraction. So this is like, are you attracted to them? Is there like chemistry? So that's what that is right here. So what is it? That's the chemistry and attraction. An example, you can put like someone could be attracted to maybe, I don't know, facial hair. Or they could be attracted to people that dress really nice. Or all kinds of different things. Okay, there's tons of examples. You could put something maybe that is attractive to you. Okay, and then that's usually the first step, right? And then we get to the values stage. And the values stage is the partners compare their individual values and determine if they're matched well. So that's kind of that definition piece. And then here's a ton of different examples. There's so many more than this. This is just like a few. But like fidelity, meaning are you faithful? Do you want to have kids? Could be some racism. It could be any of the isms. Like you want people to be following your beliefs like that too. And religion, how people handle money, how you deal with conflict, all of those things. Tons of different options for examples. And then pick maybe one that's important to you. Okay, and then we have roles is your last stage. This is like the role compatibility stage. So partners, you've learned about all that stuff, but now partners test and negotiate like their kind of roles in the relationship. So do your expectations for the roles in your relationship match with your partner? And are you really compatible? Okay, that's what the role compatibility stage is all about. And so like for examples, this could be like sometimes people think, oh, well, my significant other is going to do the cooking and I'll do the like dishes. Or maybe it could be stuff like that, but is there also someone that's more in charge of communication or like things that, and this isn't right or wrong, it's what are your expectations and do they actually match with the other person's? And a lot of times people don't have a tendency to actually talk about that until it's way far in the relationship. Okay, so that's that piece. And then when we look at that, that's like if we think of traditional marriage, like meet someone, find attraction, ask them out, and then go through that process. But then it can end in a marriage or lifelong commitment if it doesn't break down at some point. Okay, but sometimes this process isn't resolved before people might get married, and it can lead to a lot of conflict in marriage. And then looking at how does online dating change the game? Like how does it impact the process? And this is the easy part. It puts the V before the S. So meaning you actually learn more about their values than you do about the attraction piece. Sometimes that attraction piece, like pictures, sometimes aren't always the best either. So you don't meet right away. And it also depends on how long do you spend getting to know and learn about someone's values before you actually meet them in person can vary also. So thinking about that, you can write that piece. And then number 5, would you prefer traditional dating with the SVR or would you prefer the online dating with the VSR? Going in that order. Okay, so that is your stuff for today. Please let me know if you have any questions. And again, feel free to move on to your must-have can't stands if you want. There's a link and then just follow the instructions. Have a good day.